Hello, everybody. This is your old pal, Uncle Hondo, with another Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. I'm your host. I'm also your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated, and it's great to be with you today here at the facility. Just walked out of practice, had a chance to talk to Patrick Graham today, had a chance to talk to um, Luke Getzey today, and a lot going on here at the Raiders facility. I'm going to get into everything that Luke and Patrick talked about. I think there was some really good stuff, but I want to dig into something that I really hope is beneficial to you. So, as you know, Monday I asked AP about the attacking offense, and he referred to the fact that they did go deep. I followed that up Wednesday by just saying I want to follow up to this question. I wasn't talking about throwing deep, but and I used the examples of 3rd and 5 and only throwing it 3 yards. And he talked about, we're not writing up many plays for that. That's execution. Now, many of you are great football minds, and you understood when he refers to execution, that's player performance. But for those of you that didn't understand that, that's important. So last night I watched all 3 games again of this season and paid particular attention. I do this already because I review the film after every game, but I specifically just keyed in on the offensive line. And what surprised me was I thought the Raiders have done pretty well, not great, but pretty well at pass blocking. I thought they were really good on Sunday, but the run blocking has just been horrible. Now, here's why you want to do this, because it's important in a position like I have. If you're going to make opinion of um, something, you have to be able to analyze it, know what you're analyzing to disseminate the information to you. There are a few reasons why I think the Raiders are struggling with the run game. Now, that's a big deal because that's who they want to be. It's who they want to be. So if you're struggling with it and that's your identity and they're not going to give it up, then you have to identify quickly what's going on. So I'd like to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, I do not believe in any way that Zamir White's the issue. I've heard several people email me wanting me to comment, he's trash. That's just a dumb opinion. And I'm sorry, you're entitled to whatever you want, but I have a right to say what I think, and that is a dumb opinion. Last year, the young man was one of the best running backs in the NFL once AP took over. So when it's not working, you want to go look at him. He's running fine. I do think he needs to get his shoulders square quicker. But when I look at that and then analyzed it watching the film, one of the things that stood out to me is how poor the run blocking has been. So he's getting guys on him before he can get his body turned. Well, they have something to do with it. Imagine if you're running to your right and somebody's got you in the middle or the right side and you're trying to turn your jersey up. Well, you're trying to pull another human being while you get your shoulder square. So after watching it, I am 100% convinced Zamir is not the issue. Now, I think some of it is a change of scheme, but I like the wide zone, and I've said that since they made the decision to go with Getzey, who runs that. So it'd be disingenuous of me to say, "Oh, I don't like this," because I do. I like the wide zone. So there's an adjustment for some of your players that were here before, Thayer, Andre, Colton, to that scheme. Dylan has adjusted really well. Dylan Parham has been the best offensive lineman on this team in pass and run blocking, and it hasn't been close. He's played really well. I think the rookies, BJ Glaze and Jackson Powers Johnson, both did good in the run game. Excuse me, in the passing game on Sunday. I don't think that they were, great or even good in the running game. But I think the whole offensive line, not named Parham, struggled in the running game. So we're going to talk more about this today. What are some ways that you fix it? First of all, you just have to continue to work on it in practice. You have to be diligent. You don't panic 3 games into an NFL season. You just don't. We've seen multiple teams struggle and then come back and get into the playoffs and do a lot. Look at last year's, we'll just go look at last year's playoffs. There were several teams struggling early who ended up making a lot of noise. So as I reviewed it, I've been very uh, more impressed than I thought I would have been with the pass blocking, more disappointed than with the run blocking. And I think that AP is 100% correct. I think some of it is new scheme, maybe 10%, but the other 15 is guys have to execute better. They have to. Now, I want to talk about, and this is simply my opinion. Um, I don't think I mentioned yesterday when AP told me and you saw the video or listened to it that Jackson Powers Johnson earned more reps, and they played him on the right side with Dylan. Now that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get that. I don't understand it. But they're the coaches, and that's their decision. To me, I think the Raiders, when Dylan was playing well, why get him on the right? I mean, if you're going to play JPJ at right, then you put him in there and move Dylan. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think for this year, for right now, barring injuries, JPJ's future will be on the left. So I would expect him to get, because AP said he's earned more. I expect JPJ to get a lot of reps at the left guard this week against Cleveland. That's just what I expect. If Thayer's not there, obviously DJ Glaze on the right hand side at right tackle. So I would not be shocked to see the majority of reps. I'm not talking about starting, not starting. Majority of reps: Colton, JPJ, Andre, Dylan, and either Thayer or Glaze. I would say right now, if I had to guess, and it's purely speculative, I would think that there's a good chance that you'll probably see more Glaze than Thayer. And it's not because Thayer's playing poorly, it's simply because of health. But we're going to know more later in the week. I mean, it's already Thursday, but I'm just giving you rough opinion here. So as I went back and looked at the woes, now, when teams are stacking the box, committed to stopping your run, and your offense is struggling with blocking, then it becomes even more imperative that you use the pass to set up the run. Because of how good that the Raiders are pass blocking, I would anticipate we're going to see more of that this weekend. Again, nobody has come out and said to me, "Hey, Hondo, this is what we're doing," but it's what I believe they're going to do. I'm not speaking for the franchise. That's what I expect. I think the Raiders need to do more on first down. I don't want them passing every first down, not at all. But what I do want to see is on first down, it needs to be 50-50, taking some shots, throwing the football, getting your team into position. What's the difference of throwing incomplete and having 2nd and 10 than throwing into the flat and having 2nd and 9? Excuse me, than running to the flat and having 2nd and 9. The difference is when you pass, at least they know they can't stack the box. So if you look at first down as a running play and first down as a passing play, and if you assume both are going to have similar outcomes, well, one of them, even with a negative outcome, can have a positive in the pass because it forces people to stay back a little bit. I think the Raiders need to see more of it. And again, I expect to see that. I can tell you this: I have done this for a long time, several decades, covering the sport of football. 3 decades. I don't even know what year it is, but I'm in my third decade. And I can tell you this: I have been around teams that took a gut punch, which last week was, and you could just tell they were folding. I have watched teams that were mad, but mad doesn't fix the problems. I've been around teams that were mad at themselves, no finger pointing, committed to fix it, and did. And then I've been around teams that didn't care. And I've been around teams that cared, were mad, but the truth was the team didn't have the talent to fix the problem. That is not the case with these Raiders. They're angry. Everybody's pointing a finger at themselves. Even privately, I can tell you in talking to people, there's nobody pointing a finger at anyone. Um, and they have the talent to fix this. I am more convinced today than at any time since the schedule come out that the Raiders will win on Sunday. Now, that's still a very good defense in Cleveland with an offense that isn't producing but has a lot of talent. I totally, because it's the NFL, could see the Browns winning the game. I think if they played Sunday, I think the Browns would win 2 or 3. So there's a puncher's chance. But I will tell you this, you will not see an egg being laid with a poor performance by everybody like you saw against Carolina. And if you do, that's reason to panic. That's not going to happen. I'm convinced of that. I think they're going to win. I'm 70% sure they're going to win. I'm 100% sure you won't see a performance like you saw against Carolina. And that's because this team has the talent. They know that they do, and they have to respond. I'm very impressed. Um, as you know, I do not work for the team, although some say I do. I have been very critical of the offense, and thus people assume it's just a dislike of Getsy. I do not have a dislike of Getsy. I told you all training camp. I was amazed at how creative they were. We've not seen a lot of that, but when they can't get the running game going in his offense, that hinders creativity. And again, because some of that creativity has not been shown publicly, I can't discuss it. It's not because I don't want to, it's because it wouldn't be fair to the Raiders. So I hope you understand that. But what I would tell you is this: I thought his press conference today was really good for a few reasons. He was asked several really good questions. Now, there is a small group of fans who are unrealistic that want us to berate, cuss out, and attack him like he's a terrorist. Well, that's just stupid. And nor would I do that. I'm very respectful of the people I cover. These are grown men with families. It doesn't mean that they always perform well. And when they don't, I ask them tough questions and they're prepared for that, but it doesn't need to be a personal attack. I was impressed today. I thought my colleagues and I asked a lot of really good questions, and his answers were good. They were really good. And he didn't try to beat around any bush. Um, he talked about, uh, I asked him about the execution and about the fact that AP talked about guys have to execute, and it isn't just on Zamir. And he talked about the 11 have to operate as one. Now, what he's doing there, and if you don't understand the game, a lot of you are very smart people. You understand the game, you get this. But for those of you that are new, and I get a lot of email from people that thank me for explaining it, you can call a player out and not attack them personally. It's just like a coach. And so what he's pointing out is our 11 guys have to do their job. Now, sometimes if you're running to the right, that left guard's got to pull, or that left guard's got to get upfield and get to a backer. Okay. And if they don't, it looks like Zeke made a wrong read. It looks like it was just a terrible play when it was on a left guard. Sometimes a receiver's got to get upfield quicker to clear something out. Sometimes a tight end's got to get up and make a block. There are so many different pieces. What I loved about what Getsy said and why I didn't think it was coach speak or hyperbole was when he said 11 got to operate at one. He was putting it back where it belonged, which is on the players. They have to execute. They have to. It's just the reality of the situation. And so when they're not, it puts this team behind the 8 ball. Again, he thought that DJ Glaze did a great job, and I think he did in the passing game. Thought there were some struggles, but he's a rookie. But think about this, Raiders. You got 2 rookies getting significant playing time next week in DJ, potentially if Thayer's not there, or if Thayer, depending on how he is injury wise, and Jackson Powers Johnson. That's a big deal. Why? Contracts, developing the guys that you're drafting. That's a very big deal long term. May not be a big deal this year because you don't really care where a guy is. If he's on your roster, you want somebody to play well. But I'm always trying to look at the now and down the road. That's a very big deal. And both guys, they're not first round guys. So they come with relative easy pricing. So I think that's a big deal. Um, the other thing I wanted to get into uh, about Gardner, um, I think Gardner's going to have to trust his blocking a little bit more. I think Gardner's been rushing it. Um, Again, I wanna tell you, I think the pass blocking's been better. I'm not pretending it's been great, but it's been better, than what I thought. I think Gardner's been a little too quick to get rid of the football. I think he needs to wait, let some things develop. One more second. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, throw. Not 1,001, 1,002, go, out. I think that little bit of split is going to open up some opportunities. So I think Gardner has to improve there. Now, I've had several of you email and ask because I said on Monday I didn't think Gardner was the reason they're losing. Hondo, have you given up faith in Aiden? Not at all. Not at all. But I just was given an honest opinion. I didn't think that Gardner was the issue. I didn't think that was the feeling internally. And that's exactly what it was. I want to turn to Patrick Graham. Isaiah Palomao is a guy I've been talking to you about for a while. He's big. Now, not big like me. I mean, I'm 248 pounds. Not big like me, but he's got a huge wingspan. He's tall like me, got a big wingspan. And this game, PG said it today. This is a game played by big men. Isaiah Palomao is that. Now, Marcus Epps is a huge loss. I've been talking to you guys since he got here. He was the verbal leader of this defense. He put so many guys in places. I have zero concerns that IPM, Isaiah Palomao, can play this position at a high level. What I haven't got to see from him, though, is the communicative skills of a Marcus Epps. That's going to be a big loss. Now, having talked to IPM many times, I know he can communicate, but still, it's for a young player has to learn his role. I think that is a very, very big deal. But again, his work ethic is phenomenal. Patrick Graham addressed it today. You can go watch the video or listen to the video of the press conference. I think you'll like it. Our Zeke Trezevant's gonna have a great article on this tomorrow. But I just think that the I'm not concerned about the play on the field. It's just the communicative skills. And as a young player, that's going to take a little while to develop. Um, I, I like, I'm trying to think of how I want to do this. One of the things that Patrick Graham stretches is that if you're going to make a wrong play, at least be physical doing it. You want that punch you in the face, edge, boom. You want that from your defense. The Raiders, you didn't see a lot of that on Sunday. Carolina walked out of here, and I don't think Carolina's still hurting. I know at the Super Bowl that Chiefs were still hurting from the game against the Raiders. Carolina didn't feel that. And he talked about if you're going to be wrong, be physical. Another thing that he talked about is that you can gain precision with good vision. And I've talked to you a lot about the importance of heads up, seeing the play in front of you. Now, do you remember back, and I know that this is a name that nobody likes, but when Mike Shanahan was the coach of the Broncos, and they used to do so good with their zone running scheme. And one of the things that he would teach his linemen you know, let the defensive player take himself out of the play. If you apply pressure on his left shoulder and his left, your right, and he goes with it and the play's going the other direction, let him go. But when you play like Patrick Graham wants to, which is gain precision by good vision, it means you're not just following the block of where the offensive lineman wants you to go. Your head's up and you're watching the ball for yourself. Now that's important when you're going against a Deshaun, a Lamar Jackson, a Patrick Mahomes, because they're just gone. They can just stop on a dime and give you 9 cents change. So it's important. And the Carolina game was the first one that I've seen in a long time from a Patrick Graham defense where you didn't see that vision head up. So we're going to be watching that closely. But he likes to hammer, get your eyes right. So again, it's time for the Raiders to stand up and stand out. And Sunday is going to be that opportunity. Again, we just detailed in great detail about the running game. It's understanding. Now, sometimes you're going to see a play. I was watching a play yesterday where if you were just watching and didn't understand the play, you would have thought Colton Miller made a huge mistake. The problem was Cody Whitehair had made a mistake. And so then Colton had two guys, so he naturally took the guy to the inside. And so it looked like Colton had failed, and he hadn't failed at all. That's why sometimes it's very careful to sometimes what you see is not reality. So, like on that play where it looks like Colton made a mistake, it was really on Cody. The point is, it goes back to what Getzey said 11 have to operate as one. I am very impressed in what I've seen. I'm very impressed with how AP is handled this week. I think it's phenomenal. All I've heard since I started covering the Raiders is Raider fans just disgusted with how coaches just seem to not care about the loss. There is no way that you could have watched AP after the game, his Monday or Wednesday um, pressers, been out at practice like I am, and think for 1 second this man does not care. Yes, he's a coach that gets paid a lot of money to cover the to coach this team, but he's an absolute fan of the Raiders. He loves the Raiders. And so that is a big deal to him. And these coaches care. And quite frankly, the players do. And they're going to stand up, and I expect them to stand out. And I expect them to make a big statement on Sunday. Like I said, if they walk into Allegiant on Sunday and they perform as poorly as they performed last week, it would be time to panic. That's not going to happen. I just don't believe it. And I know in my business they say, don't talk about absolutes. Well, my job's to tell you what I feel, and I don't see that happening. There's too much character on the staff, and I'm going to tell you right now, there isn't one guy on the staff that I believe, should be fired or is not doing a great job or actually a good job. I think there's a ton of character in that locker room. There's been a lot of injury. That's fair. You have to talk about that. You can't not. When you look at Max at 60%, no Coons, Divine injured, Marcus Epps injured. Those are legitimate injuries. Those are going to impact the team. I believe those injuries are going to make the score closer than probably what people want. But a win's all that matters. It's just win, baby. There's too much character in this building, and I expect it to respond, and I think that you're going to see it. And I think that's all right now Raider Nation wants. You are 3 games in. I'm not speaking hyperbole when I say there are 14 games left. Very few would have expected the Raiders to beat Baltimore in Baltimore. That tells you what this team has. Now they have to put it together. On Sunday, the motto is very, very simple: stand up and stand out. See you